This video is sponsored by Squarespace. More on them later.
Why, good morning. Hello.
Good morning.
You're not wearing your leather pants.
No, I'm not today.
Want to get some breakfast?
Yes.
All right, let's go. Good morning from somewhere in London. After gallivanting around the Middle East for a couple of weeks, it is time for me to go home to Toronto, but I had just one last thing to do, and that is to pick up Lauren, who some of you might remember as Vegan Pants Girl. And with that, we're flying WestJet today on their Dreamliner. You can cut away now to the maps.
In the previous video, I had just arrived into London the night before on Etihad's Dreamliner. In this one, we'll be picking up the action after I'm joined by my friend Lauren. Together, we'll be taking WestJet 787 home to Toronto, a daytime flight across the Atlantic covering some 3,560 miles in just over 7 hours. London, once the undisputed capital of the world, is nowadays capital of airports not actually in the city they're named after. One of these is where we'll be going today, London Gatwick, which is in West Sussex. The airport is an hour outside the city by car, or 35 minutes from Vicarious station if you take the express train. The second busiest airport in the UK, Gatwick features two terminals. There's an older and crappier South Terminal and a newer, bigger, nicer North Terminal. Thankfully, WestJet operates out of the latter. The two are connected landside by a people mover, which is unironically named for what it does. Although it's considered a secondary airport, Gatwick still serves some major airlines such as the likes of BA and Emirates, as well as being a major hub for EasyJet. It's also the first foray of WestJet into the UK market. For more reasons than one, the North Terminal at Gatwick reminded me of an IKEA, a brightly lit warehouse-like building on the outskirts of the city.
Young fellow.
Do you want to do it instead?
Solidifying the IKEA experience, WestJet uses all self-checking kiosks, even for the premium cabins.
It's kind of refreshing having to do this by yourself for once. Did I lock this?
And in a plight of inevitability, things didn't go smoothly.
Is it still refreshing having to do it by yourself?
It didn't print the bag tags. Is it supposed to print here? Yeah, no, I don't know how this works. I need a human.
The human that I found instructed me to use a different machine, which didn't work either.
It's really taking its sweet time is what's going on. I won't print the bag tags now.
Eventually, a different human came to help us and manually checked us in.
I'll let you hold on to these. All right. That took a lot longer than it typically does. Not because of our ineptitude, or rather mine, but because 3 of their machines didn't work. Whew. I don't think I've ever flown through Gatwick before. It feels like any other European airport or any other London airport. It's just a vast, psychologically calculated maze of duty-free stores, which at this point I've developed an immunity to, not by virtue that I don't want to shop, but because I am poor. Doesn't seem like a budget airport. I don't know why I thought that. Maybe that was just me being stupid.
Right after I said that, I came across this mess. Not sure if this is a result of COVID, Brexit, a combination, or if this is just how things typically are at Gatwick. Thankfully, the rest of the terminal was shown a little bit more love. Much like Heathrow, Gatwick North has a central atrium designed to hold all passengers right up until their plane boards. They can throw out all the alibis they want, but this is meant to keep you shopping. I don't imagine this is typically how empty the terminal is, especially before the holiday season, but you know what? It was kind of nice. With a little bit of time to kill ourselves, we inevitably were unable to resist this blatant corporate exploitation of our generation's nostalgia.
They actually just have it. I thought it was like taped together, but they really just
Oh, you're so lame. One other thing, with your contract lounge closed here, WestJet are supposed to give you like vouchers you can use for stuff in the terminal. I forgot to ask for them, and at this point it's too late. Oh well, I think they're worth like 20 quid, maybe more, maybe less. Where are we going?
Where we went was the gate, from where we got a pretty nice picture of today's ride, the 787-9, which was only delivered last January. These Dreamliners are WestJet's flagship aircraft, with half a dozen in service and 2 more on order. They are the reason the airline is fulfilling its expansion ambitions into Europe, Hawaii, and in the future, Asia. Boarding commenced almost as soon as we reached the gate, and this was done by zone, with business class having its own boarding first. The business cabin on this plane is quite small, with only 4 rows of seats, but oh my, are the colors on these pods absolutely stunning. I've been lucky enough to have flown this cabin quite a few times, and I'm still captivated by the palette.
Alright, so if you've been watching my videos for a little while, then you've probably seen this plane quite a few times. For those of you who haven't, I'll do a really quick seat tour. You get your 15-inch 1080p touchscreen. Down here there's a latch for the table. Comes out like this, relatively sturdy. There are 2 positions that it goes to, here and all the way back. Gives you a decent amount of legroom if you want to lie down. Over here you have this flap, which reveals a universal power outlet, your Panasonic remote control, USB Type-A charger, as well as your headphone I/O. And there's a decent amount of space in here for your random stuff. For smaller items in your pocket, you can empty them into this little tray back here, which is more shallow. There's also a mirror back here. I have this kind of stylized magazine holder, a reading light. This is not adjustable for levels despite the fact that there are 3 buttons here. I have a shoulder strap on the chair itself. Pretty decent leather on all the armrests. There's a control panel here with some basic seat controls as well as cushioning firmness. Over here is the adjustable armrest that comes up for armresting and goes down for sleeping, and also opens up and reveals a bottle of water and decent noise cancelling headphones. These are actually decent. I've come to the conclusion that they're not as bad as some of the other airlines. Oh, and there's also another little cubby down here, convenient for putting your glasses or a bottle of water when the seat is reclined, because then it's on the same level as you are. There are no individual air nozzles, but in the middle seats, unlike Air Canada's older seats, you can talk to your neighbor.
The divider uses this elegant solution of a frosted window. Kinda like it. After settling in, we were offered a pre-takeoff drink. I went for the champagne.
Well, it's been a fun 3 weeks on the road, so here's to a productive 2 weeks in self-isolation. Oh, it's not very good.
Before we get going, I'd like to introduce you to the very first sponsor on this channel, Squarespace. I'm sure you've heard of Squarespace by now, but you probably didn't know that I used to make websites in college as a side gig, and Squarespace was by far both mine and my client's favorite platform. So naturally, I was quite excited when they asked to partner up. The reason why I love using Squarespace is just how flexible and easy they make website building. You can use one of their gorgeous and highly customizable templates to create a beautiful and convincing web presence with no coding whatsoever. Or if you want to get your fingers dirty, you can CSS, HTML, or God forbid, JavaScript to your heart's desire, making your website as custom as you like. However much coding you want to do, Squarespace's website builder provides a simple to use environment with all the advanced tools intuitively built around these. You can start working on your own website by following my link for a free trial, and when you're ready to publish, use the coupon code on the screen for 10% off your first purchase for web hosting or domain. After boarding was completed, there was still an empty window seat, so of course I asked to migrate over for some takeoff footage. I've made a video about this product before, specifically the domestic version, hence I won't go into the nitty-gritty of every aspect of the seat. Instead, in this video, I'll mainly focus on the service elements of this flight. Starting off, on the international flights, you do get an amenity kit, which looks like this.
So we have a Rocky Mountain Soap Company amenities kit here. Inside you will find socks, earplugs so you don't have to listen to your seat partner, a sleeping mask, and chapstick. That's all.
If it seems pretty basic, that's because it is. This isn't actually the business class kit, instead it's the premium economy version. For an unspecified reason, they didn't have any of the business class ones available on this flight. If you're wondering, those come in a nicer pouch with a few more cosmetic items. As we get underway, let's have a peek at today's menu. This was also simplified when we flew this, resembling more of the normal domestic meal options rather than their flagship international offering. Still, you did get a choice in what food you wanted, which was more than what Air Canada was providing at the time. I went for the chicken option, and not too long after takeoff, the food arrived.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, let's try out the food, which looks pretty good, smells pretty good. I'm well aware of the fact that it comes on a tray, and it's kind of like, not as premium as some of the other business class products I've been posting lately. But you know what? For Canadian standards, with their only competition being the hot lunchbox Air Canada is offering, this doesn't seem too bad. Not at all. Okay, so this bread roll, it's not toasted, it's not warm, but you know what? That's fine. Crackers over here, which I'm gonna keep. And that, what is this? I believe this is a slab of cheddar, but we'll figure that out in a little bit. And also they have these little monolithic salt and pepper shakers. Let's try the chicken, whose name I cannot recall because they took the menus away. But let's see how it is.
The chicken was tender, juicy, and on its own, very decent. The potatoes, however, kinda spoiled it by being undercooked and extremely starchy. But I mean, I still finished the whole thing since I was hungry and I've been trying this new diet the kids are calling giving up.
That's good.
Anyways, let's move on because there was a Greek salad that had some pretty tasty feta cheese in it, but the veggies were a little old and stale, just like my jokes, and the cabbage was kind of bitter, just like my attitude has become. Man, I am not aging well. I do enjoy cheesecake though, and this raspberry one was really quite something. Probably my favorite thing on this tray. It wasn't too sweet nor too dry, it had a rich creaminess, and I've just exhausted my entire list of food critic words that I've written down. Finally, what did end up being cheddar and its accompanying crackers tied things off pretty nicely, especially with a red glass of wine. Glass of red wine. Nay, plastic cup of red wine. I could really use some red wine right now. While I was talking to myself and playing with my food in front of the camera like a lunatic, my neighbor was acting like a normal human, tucking into her tortellini. It smelled amazing, and having stolen some from her, I would have to say, if you're ever faced with a choice, go for what she got.
It's actually good.
Overall, the meals these days are still quite far from their usual service and business, resembling more of a premium economy product. Although, to be entirely fair, it is definitely a major improvement from a couple of months ago, when the only form of sustenance provided was a box of snacks. After the meal, I asked for a coffee. WestJet doesn't offer espresso drinks, instead you get McDonald's brewed coffee. You heard me, McDonald's. Nothing against Mickey D's, I love myself some quarter pounders, but I think you'll agree with me that it's pretty funny finding this on an airplane, business class no less. And this is the real deal too, you can even rip the card off the cup to redeem for a free coffee once you collect enough. Wild. After a quick trip to wash my hands, I laid my seat flat to get some rest. While a pillow and blanket were provided, there were no mattress pads. I spent some time taking naps, occasionally waking up to see where we were in the world. Snacks were available throughout the flight, as well as more wine. Eventually, tired of napping, I decided to watch a movie and found one of my all-time favorites. An hour before landing, the crew came around with a light snack. It resembled more of a school lunch. Lauren thought the cheese was pretty good. Sure, let's go with that. Meanwhile, my pancreatic cells begged me not to eat this cheesecake. As for the falafels, they were, edible. On a serious note and without sarcasm, the flight was very comfortable. The crew were friendly and proactive as always on WestJet, and the level of service was beyond what we expected given the circumstances. That's really all I have to say, because by the time we landed, I was really struggling to stay awake.
What's up, everyone? Thank you. Well, it's way past my bedtime, so I'm gonna wrap this up. That was the WestJet International December 2020 business class experience. Not exactly back to what it was last year, but it's better than a couple of months ago. Anyways, thanks for watching, and until the next time, safe travels.